You're in Manhattan when it starts. You've got your apartment, your supplies, your plan, you've watched the movies, you know the drill. Get out fast, right? Head for the countryside, avoid the crowds, survive. Here's the thing. You're not getting out. Not from New York City. Not when 8 million people have the exact same idea at the exact same second. The survival rate for a zombie outbreak in a major metropolitan area is already brutal. Studies on pandemic spread in dense urban environments suggest that in the first 24 hours, 60 to 70% of the population becomes infected or dies trying to escape. But New York is a different beast entirely. This isn't just any city. This is 27,000 people per square mile in Manhattan. This is a place where your nearest neighbor is 6 inches of drywall away, where the subway moves 5.5 million people daily through tunnels that become arteries of infection, where every advantage of urban living inverts into a fatal liability the moment the dead start moving. You're not the protagonist. You don't have plot armor. And the thing that makes New York incredible on a normal day, the density, the infrastructure, the vertical living, makes it a mechanized death trap when the rules change. Let's be real for a minute. If you're in New York City when outbreak hits, your survival odds are so close to zero that the difference doesn't matter. But let's break down exactly why. Because understanding how you die might be the only thing that keeps you alive. If you appreciate tactical breakdowns that destroy comfortable assumptions, hit subscribe and the bell. We're building a community that thinks harder about survival than the fantasy preppers. Moving on. Here's the scenario. It's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're in Midtown Manhattan, maybe at work, maybe running errands. The first reports hit social media. Attacks in Brooklyn. Something's wrong with people. The details are confused, contradictory. Then the emergency alert screams across every phone simultaneously. Seek shelter. Avoid contact. And just like that, 8 million human beings make the same decision. Get the hell out. Let's establish the parameters. We're talking classic Romero-style shamblers, slow-moving but persistent, bite transmission, no cure, death and reanimation in 30 minutes to 2 hours depending on bite severity and location. They don't tire. They don't stop. They follow sound and movement. And most critically, they spread geometrically. 1 becomes 2 becomes 4 becomes 8. In a population density like Manhattan, that math doesn't just work against you. It accelerates into a cascade that overwhelms every system in hours, not days. You don't have a car, because who the hell has a car in Manhattan? You don't have a gun because New York's permit process makes it nearly impossible. You've got whatever's in your apartment. Some canned food, a kitchen knife, maybe a baseball bat if you're lucky. You're in decent shape, but not exceptional. You know your neighborhood, but not the whole city. You're exactly average, which in this scenario means you're already at a severe disadvantage. No special forces training, no cache of weapons, no helicopter waiting on the roof. Just you, your wits, and a city that's about to become a concrete coffin. Here's what most people don't realize about New York City. It's not designed for exodus. It's designed for flow. People coming in, people going out. Constant circulation through choke points. The bridges, the tunnels, the subway stations, they're optimized for normal traffic patterns. Now imagine every single one of those systems loaded to 1000% capacity simultaneously, with panic as the operating system. Every advantage collapses. Every exit becomes a kill zone. Mistake number 1, thinking you can drive out. Let's say you're one of the minority who actually owns a vehicle in the city. You race to wherever you've got it parked, already 10 minutes gone, and you get inside. You point it toward the nearest bridge or tunnel. The George Washington Bridge, the Lincoln Tunnel, the Queens Midtown Tunnel, doesn't matter. You're imagining you'll hit traffic, sure, but you'll inch your way across. You're mobile. You've got protection. Sounds reasonable until you remember that 45,000 other people with cars had the same idea. The bridges and tunnels don't just clog, they lock. Fender benders become immovable obstacles. People abandon cars in the middle of lanes when they realize it's faster to run, which means you're now trapped in a metal box in the center of a parking lot that stretches for miles. And here's where it gets ugly. The people who abandoned their cars. They're running, making noise, drawing infected. Within 20 minutes of the initial jam, the first infected arrive at the edges of the gridlock. You can't drive forward. You can't back up. You can abandon your car and run, but run where? You're on a bridge suspended over water or in a tunnel underground. Every direction is a corridor packed with panicking people and approaching infected. The person in the car next to you starts screaming. Someone 3 cars back is firing a gun they shouldn't have, which causes a stampede. Your options compress to nothing. You die in your car or you die trying to run through a human stampede that's about to meet a zombie horde. The GW bridge becomes a graveyard of 20,000 vehicles and everyone inside them. Mistake number 2, taking the subway. The subway is the lifeblood of New York, and your brain knows this. It's how you've moved through the city for years. It's underground, it's fast, it connects everything. In your panic-compressed logic, the subway makes sense. Get below street level, away from the chaos. Catch a train headed out of the city. The 1 train to Van Cortlandt Park. The A train to Far Rockaway. Anything headed to the edges. Thousands of people have the same instinct. Here's the thing about the New York subway system. It's 665 miles of tunnels with 472 stations, and it moves through the most densely populated areas of the city like capillaries through tissue. On a normal day, it's already claustrophobic. Now load it with terrified people fleeing for their lives. The platforms become crush zones. People push toward the tracks because there's nowhere else to go. Someone falls. Someone screams that there's infected at the entrance. The crowd surges. If you actually make it onto a train, big if, you're in a sealed metal tube with 200 strangers. The train moves 3 stops and halts. Signal problem, track obstruction. Doesn't matter. You're stopped in a tunnel between stations. The lights flicker. Someone on the car is bleeding from a bite they're hiding. Someone else notices. Panic doesn't spread in the subway. It detonates. Stairwells amplify footfalls. Tunnels carry sound for miles. The infected pour into the subway system because that's where the noise is, where the concentration of prey is highest. They shamble down the stairs onto the platforms into the tunnels, and because the subway is a network, they spread through it like blood through veins. Every station becomes compromised. Every tunnel becomes a gauntlet. If you're underground when this happens, you don't escape. You become part of the horde that ensures no one else escapes either. Mistake number 3, trusting high-rises. You've seen the movies. Get vertical. Zombies can't climb well. Secure a high floor, barricade the stairwell, wait for rescue. It's logical. It's wrong. New York has over 6,000 high-rise buildings. Residential towers where hundreds of people live stacked on top of each other. Your neighbor isn't across the street. They're 6 inches away through drywall. When outbreak hits, you rush home to your 10th floor apartment. You lock your door. You feel safer because you're up high. But apartment 10C has a bite victim. Apartment 10F has someone who went to help and got infected. By hour 3, there are infected on your floor. By hour 6, they're in the stairwell. The building has 1 or 2 stairways, maybe 1,000 residents. Everyone either tries to go up or go down simultaneously. The stairwell becomes a vertical traffic jam where people are crushed against walls, where the infected pour in from multiple floors at once. And here's what no one thinks about. Buildings need maintenance. They need water pressure. They need electricity. They need waste systems. All of that fails within 24 to 48 hours when the people running those systems are dead or fled. Your high-rise apartment becomes a vertical tomb. No water, no power, no way down that isn't choked with infected. You're trapped in a concrete box that's running out of resources, surrounded by neighbors who are turning into threats. The higher you go, the fewer options you have. Mistake number 4, heading to Central Park. Open space, trees. Room to maneuver. It seems like a tactical advantage compared to the concrete corridors of the streets. Some people make this their rally point. Get to the park, regroup, figure out next steps. The problem is that 40,000 other people have the same idea, and Central Park is 843 acres surrounded by buildings. The park becomes a refugee camp overnight. No coordination, no leadership, no supplies. Just a mass of panicked humanity, compressed into green space that's completely exposed. The infected don't avoid the park. They converge on it, because that's where the concentration of noise and movement is. And because the park is surrounded by dense neighborhoods on all sides, the infected pour in from every direction. North, south, east, west. There's no perimeter, no choke points, no way to control access. By nightfall on day one, Central Park is a killing field. The people who went there thinking it was safer than buildings discover they've trapped themselves in an open area with no escape routes and no barriers. You can't climb trees fast enough. You can't outrun a horde when you're exhausted, dehydrated, and surrounded. The park becomes a monument to the mistake of trusting open space in an urban environment where every approach vector is a densely packed zombie highway. Mistake number 5, trying to fortify in place. You're in your apartment, you've locked the door, pushed furniture against it. You've got a week of food, some water, you decide to wait it out. Let the chaos pass. Let rescue come. This is the fantasy of every amateur prepper, and in New York City it's a slow-motion death sentence. Your building has infected in it by hour 4. The sounds of struggle, of screaming, of doors breaking, they're constant. You can't sleep, you can't think. The building systems start failing, water pressure drops to nothing by day 2, power's out by day 3, your phone battery dies. You're in the dark, listening to the sounds of your neighbors dying or turning, unable to do anything. And here's the cascade. You can't stay silent forever. You cough, you move, you drop something. The infected in the hallway hear it. They don't leave. They don't get bored. They stay at your door, testing it, pushing it forever. You're not waiting out the outbreak. You're waiting to starve, to die of thirst, or to make a mistake that lets them in. There's no rescue coming to individual apartments. The city's emergency services collapse in hours. The National Guard, if it even gets deployed to Manhattan, has priorities bigger than checking every apartment in every building. You fortify in place, you die in place. Maybe it takes a week. Maybe 2 if you're disciplined about rationing. But the end point is the same. You become too weak to defend your position, or you run out of supplies and have to leave, which means you're exiting into a building that's now completely overrun, into hallways you can't see, into stairwells packed with infected. Your fortress becomes your crypt. Here's what separates the 0.1% who might make it from the 99.9% who don't. They leave immediately, and they don't use the obvious routes. The second the emergency alert hits, they're moving. Not packing, not planning, moving. They take stairs, not elevators. They avoid subways completely. They don't head for bridges or tunnels. They walk. They move through side streets, through alleys, through routes that aren't on everyone's mental map. They head for the water, but not the obvious crossings. They're thinking about boats, ferries, anything that puts them on water where infected can't follow. The East River, the Hudson. There are marinas, there are small craft, there are options if you're willing to improvise and you get there before everyone else thinks of it. But even this, even the smartest possible play is a desperate gamble in a city where every minute matters and where you're competing against millions. The survival rating for staying in New York City during a zombie outbreak, I'm giving it a 1 out of 10, and that 1 point is pure generosity for the statistical anomaly who gets lucky. Short-term survival, meaning the first 24 hours, maybe 30% of people make it if they're smart and ruthless about moving immediately. Long-term survival, meaning weeks or months. Less than 0.1%. The density kills you. The infrastructure kills you. The choke points kill you. The sheer mathematics of 8 million people in confined space kills you. Every advantage of city living inverts. Your neighbors become vectors. Your apartment becomes a trap. Your knowledge of the subway becomes useless. The bodega on your corner becomes a riot zone. The systems that make New York functional, the garbage collection, the water treatment, the power grid, the supply chains, all collapse simultaneously because they depend on people, and those people are dead, fled, or infected. The practical advice is simple and brutal. You don't survive a zombie outbreak in New York City by preparing to fight it out in place. You survive by leaving the second you know it's real, using routes no one else thinks of, and accepting that you're abandoning everything. Your apartment, your possessions, your job, your life as you knew it. The people who hesitate, who pack a go bag, who try to secure their home first, they're the ones who die in the initial wave. The ones who might make it are the ones who become ruthless decision-makers in the first 10 minutes and never look back. All right, your turn. If you were in Midtown Manhattan when the outbreak hit, would you try for the bridges or the water? Would you go up in a high-rise or take your chances on the street? How long would you wait before leaving your apartment? And where would you actually go? No plot armor, just honest assessment. And here's the harder question. Knowing what you know now about how every obvious solution fails, what's your play? Because the thing about New York is this. It punishes hesitation, it punishes crowds, and it punishes conventional thinking. Drop your strategy in the comments. Tell me where I'm wrong about the subway or the bridges. Tell me your unconventional escape route that I didn't think of. This channel exists to break down the scenarios that separate fantasy from survival, and New York is the ultimate test case for whether you can adapt faster than everyone else dies. Hit subscribe if you want more tactical breakdowns that respect your intelligence and destroy your assumptions. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next scenario. And remember, in a city of 8 million, being average means you're already dead. You need to think different, move faster, and accept harder truths than everyone around you. Stay sharp.